The rain had been falling in Manila for days, and the small wooden houses by the river were no match for the raging flood. Miguel Santos, a thin boy of 12 with bright but weary eyes, clung to his grandmother's old guitar as the water crept higher into their home. His mother shouted for him and his siblings to gather what little they could, clothes, rice, and a few photographs, but Miguel refused to let go of the guitar. It was the only memory he had left of his late Lola Carmen, who used to lull him to sleep with songs of hope and faith. The current grew stronger, sweeping away pieces of wood, broken furniture, and the cries of neighbors who were also struggling to survive. Miguel felt fear grip his chest as the water reached his waist, but instead of panicking, he began to hum softly, a melody Lola once taught him. His younger sister clung to his side, trembling, but Miguel's voice calmed her, reminding her that even in darkness there was light. Around them, people fought to keep balance, carrying babies and precious belongings, but Miguel's focus remained steady: protect his family and hold on to the guitar. Hours later, when rescuers arrived with boats, Miguel's family climbed aboard, shivering and soaked, their lives reduced to the few things in their hands. Miguel sat silently in the corner of the boat, hugging the battered guitar against his chest, his lips still humming the tune. He didn't know it yet, but that small act of courage and music in the middle of disaster would change the course of his life. The flood had taken their home, but it could not drown the hope in Miguel's heart, a hope that would one day carry him to a stage far bigger than he could ever imagine. In the days following the flood, Miguel and his family found themselves in a crowded evacuation center, a gymnasium filled with families who had lost everything. Mats and cardboard boxes became makeshift beds, and the smell of damp clothes and instant noodles lingered in the air. Miguel's mother, Maria, tried to stay strong, selling boiled bananas and small snacks outside the shelter to earn a little money. Miguel, though exhausted, couldn't sit idle. With his battered guitar resting across his lap, he began to sing quietly, at first only for his younger sister who was still shaken by the disaster. His voice, soft yet powerful, carried through the noisy space and soon caught the attention of other evacuees. People stopped their conversations and slowly gathered around him, listening as he sang a heartfelt ballad about hope and survival. For a few minutes, the heavy air inside the shelter seemed to lift, and tired faces brightened with fragile smiles. An elderly man clapped softly, children swayed to the rhythm, and even Maria wiped a tear from her cheek. Miguel realized that his voice could do more than comfort his family, it could bring light to others, even in their darkest days. Encouraged, he started singing in nearby markets and bus stops whenever he could, placing a small tin can at his feet. Strangers dropped coins inside, not only for his music but also out of admiration for his courage. Word spread quickly about the boy with the golden voice who had survived the flood, and people whispered that he was destined for something greater. Though Miguel was still just a child from Manila with nothing but a broken guitar, in those moments of singing, he felt as if he already held a piece of his future in his hands. Weeks later, Miguel's story reached the ears of a local charity group that often helped children with talent but little means. They had heard about the boy who sang in the streets after surviving the floods, and one afternoon they approached him while he was performing near a crowded bus terminal in Manila. Miguel was nervous when they asked him to sing for them, but as soon as his voice filled the air, they exchanged amazed glances. One of them, a kind woman named Angela, told Miguel that his voice deserved to be heard on a bigger stage. At first, he didn't understand what she meant, but when she explained that they wanted to sponsor him to audition for America's Got Talent in the United States, his eyes widened in disbelief. The thought seemed impossible. How could a poor boy from the flooded alleys of Manila ever stand on one of the world's biggest stages? Miguel hesitated, worrying about leaving his mother and sister behind, but Maria held his hands and encouraged him. She told him that his gift was not just for their family, but for the world, and that he should chase the chance that others only dreamed of. With trembling hands and a hopeful heart, Miguel agreed. The following weeks were filled with preparation, passports, travel papers, and endless practice sessions with his battered guitar. When the day finally came, Miguel boarded a plane for the very first time in his life. Looking out the small window, he whispered a prayer, clutching the guitar tightly to his chest. Ahead of him was a journey into the unknown, but also toward a dream far bigger than the struggles he had endured. He didn't know what awaited him in America, but he carried Manila and his family's love in every note he planned to sing. The bright lights of Los Angeles overwhelmed Miguel as he stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage for the very first time. Dressed in simple clothes and holding his old guitar, he looked small compared to the grandeur of the stage and the hundreds of faces staring at him. His heart pounded so loudly he could hear it over the murmurs of the audience. Simon Cowell leaned forward with his usual stern expression, while Heidi, Sophia, and Howie offered encouraging smiles. A staff member handed Miguel the microphone, and his hands trembled as he introduced himself in a soft voice. He shared a little of his story, the flood in Manila, losing his home, and how music had given him strength. The hall grew quiet, every ear tuned in, some audience members already wiping away tears. Then Miguel took a deep breath, strummed his guitar, and began to sing. His voice was raw yet filled with emotion, echoing across the theater with a depth far beyond his years. The melody rose like a prayer, carrying with it every hardship he had endured and every dream he still held on to. The audience was spellbound, many standing up even before the song ended. Simon's stern face softened as he rested his chin on his hand, clearly moved. Heidi placed a hand over her heart, and Sophia whispered to Howie with tears in her eyes. As Miguel reached the final note, the theater erupted in thunderous applause, cheers, and whistles. The boy who had once sung to comfort his sister during a flood was now commanding the hearts of thousands. For Miguel, the moment felt surreal, like a dream he never dared to imagine had suddenly come to life right in front of him. As the last note of Miguel's song echoed through the theater, the audience rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. The boy stood frozen, clutching his old guitar tightly, his chest heaving as tears welled in his eyes. He had sung with every piece of his heart, but he never imagined such a reaction. The judges rose too, Howie clapping above his head, Sophia wiping her tears, and Heidi smiling warmly as if she were proud of him like a mother. But it was Simon who held the room still. For a moment, he leaned back, silent, his eyes glistening as he studied the boy on stage. The audience hushed, waiting for his words, knowing that Simon's judgment carried the heaviest weight. Slowly, he stood and pressed the golden buzzer. The hall erupted in gasps and screams as golden confetti rained down over Miguel. He dropped to his knees, overwhelmed, unable to hold back his sobs. His mother, watching from backstage, covered her mouth with trembling hands, tears streaming as she saw her son showered in gold. Miguel lifted his face to the falling confetti, feeling as though his grandmother's spirit was watching him from above, proud of the promise he had kept, to always sing from the heart. Simon walked up to him and said, with a rare softness in his voice, "That was one of the most moving performances I have ever heard." The moment felt like magic. From the flooded streets of Manila to the world's grandest stage, Miguel had transformed his pain into hope, his struggles into triumph. This was not just an audition. It was the beginning of a destiny that no flood could ever wash away.